President Obama was elected with the promise of change, but the only change was the handover of big government from a Republican to a Democrat. Why then, given the steady stream of victories for supporters of big government, have liberals increased their rhetorical attacks on small government libertarians? Here to shed light on this is the Independent Institute's Anthony Gregory. Anthony, it's a pleasure. Welcome back to Freedom Watch.
It's wonderful to be here, Judge.
Thank you. Why are liberals attacking libertarians? Liberals who once believed that war is wrong unless we've been attacked, that deficits are evil because it saps money from future generations. Why have they sort of jumped to the other side?
Well, liberals used to believe even more in common with us, as you know, Judge. Liberalism used to be the philosophy of liberty, of individual freedom against big government. But over a century ago, progressives hijacked this philosophy and turned it into a pro-government philosophy. They made their deal with the devil. And we see all around us the failures of big government liberalism, the wars continuing, the corporatism, the money being shoveled to Wall Street and auto companies, all of the civil liberties violations. And they have no one to blame other than themselves, and so they target us.
All right, when George Bush was president and he proposed the Patriot Act, and he authorized torture on United States territory and elsewhere, a lot of liberals and almost all libertarians complained. When President Obama does similar things, violations of civil liberties, trials before military tribunals rather than jury trials, spending money that we don't have, paying for a war on a credit card, invading another country without a congressional authorization, why are the liberals silent?
Well, you know, some of them aren't silent, but the reason that most of them are more silent than they would be if it were a conservative doing this, the reason many of them are looking the other way or even coming up with ways to defend these depredations upon liberty, is partisanship, and they don't want to see their president discredited. They have kind of made their deal to support the Obama agenda, and Obama represents the attempt to mix social democracy with civil liberties and peace, and we see that it doesn't work, that we get the same kind of big government stuff that we had under Bush.
So is it because they like him as a person? They like what he represents in the White House. They like the one-payer system in health care. They think Obamacare might be a step in that direction, that they will overlook the things that we just characterized, like an illegal war in Libya and paying for it on a credit card without the authorization by the Congress.
Yes, I think a lot of it is they have these domestic priorities which, in a sense, overrides their concerns about, you know, the Bill of Rights and peace. And many of them are willing to look the other way so they get their big government at home. But in many cases, I think it's just partisanship. It's fear that the Republicans will take power, and they think the Republicans are worse, even though, as we can see, both parties govern almost identically. There are some differences, but they're not ever as big as the media claim. They're not ever as big as the two parties claim. And just as many conservatives looked the other way when Bush expanded Medicare and had No Child Left Behind and enacted new steel tariffs and did 100 other things in violation of the free market, we see today liberals looking the other way as Obama is betraying the principles they claim to adhere to, all because they want to support their party.
Where do you see, last question, Anthony, the divide in the Republican Party going between the small government libertarians, Ron Paul, Gary Johnson, and the big government Republicans, Newt Gingrich, Rick Santorum, Mitt Romney?
Well, I'd like to say that, you know, I like Ron Paul a lot, and it's good to see our ideas spread in any venue, but in the long term, the Republican Party has always been the party of big government. Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt, Herbert Hoover, Richard Nixon. There's no real future, I think, for classical liberalism or libertarianism in the GOP, and almost everyone in there is a big government Republican, with the exception of very few, and so I'd hate to say it, I don't think electoral politics is, in the long term, the answer.
All right. Anthony Gregory, it's a pleasure. Thank you for joining us. You're always welcome here.
Thank you very much, Judge.